DeVos. All right, all right. So you've got this system where everyone is working in this workforce for the good of humanity. Brotherly love reigns everywhere, a real idealistic utopia. But is this practical? Wouldn't this need to be enforced in some way? Is there a governing body involved in this utopia of yours? Who ensures that people do their part? Sagers. Government will change dramatically. The economy has always been a huge issue in politics. In fact, it has been the primary issue. Without an economy to worry about, government can be a lot simpler. There won't be a need for it to be so controlling in people's lives. The system itself will ensure people's lives will work. Those who choose to volunteer for public office will be servants of the people, which is how it should be. They will be involved in determining what overall issues need to be presented to the people for a vote, and then they will pull together the various entities and personnel needed to accomplish the task. Powerful corporations will no longer influence decisions. They won't exist anymore. The people, as a group, will decide things. The determining factors will be ecology, fair play, equality, freedom, and justice. Government won't govern the people. The people will govern the people. Government will have very little power to force compliance for anything, including participation in the workforce. However, it will have power to stop someone or some group from doing something harmful to others or something that interferes with the freedom of others. DeVos. Wow, you are an idealist. That's as wishful thinking as I've ever heard. It sounds like the way communism started out, doesn't it? The people supposedly in control. Sager. This, I might point out, is also true of democracy, and look what happened to the people in both instances. DeVos. What do you mean in both instances? Surely you're not suggesting that those under a communistic state are somehow no worse off than those under a democracy. Sager. Well, let's face it, in neither system do the people really hold much power. Under communism, there is only one party to vote for. Under capitalism, it is several, but in both cases, it is the parties that control our choices. And in capitalism, it is money that controls the parties and the elected officials. It could be argued that it doesn't matter who is elected because money will always be the controlling factor. It's inevitable. Oh, there may be uprisings and even occasional revolutions, but so long as money is in the system, power will always return to the minority that has it. That's true of capitalism, communism, socialism, or any other system where money is the controlling factor in people's lives. DeVos. You, I believe, have way too much faith in the innate goodness of man. I see this system you propose as leading to nothing short of anarchy. I view cooperatism as basically just another name put on a communistic or socialistic society and philosophy. It seems to me you may be putting a little different twist on it, but isn't it really basically an impossible, idealistic form of communism, or at the very least, socialism? The state is the people, and everyone works for and is subservient to that state. Sagers. What almost all Westerners refer to as communism has to do with our observations of the plight of people currently living under professed communist states. These states implement a form of dictatorship, a one-party system that gives control to those in power and limits individual freedom. They grew out of an attempt to bring about a particular social system and philosophy, one of individual freedom and abundance that was never realized. These systems became the antithesis of what the original philosophy was intended and envisioned to be. The principles of democracy, individual freedom, and government of, for, and by the people were the goals of the original communist philosophy. The leaders that emerged and the governments that were able to gain power altered in very dramatic and destructive ways these original ideals. It is these virtual dictatorships and the subjugation of the people under them that have defined what we now term communism. That's my understanding anyway. Most Westerners associate the term communism with these modern states that have so limited the freedoms of their people. The original concept of communism has a great deal in common with the ideals of democracy as well as cooperativism. Communism was a reaction to the inequalities and worker oppression that was prevalent under capitalism. So, for the sake of our discussion, I want to be very clear about which conceptualization of the term communism we are referring to. For if we use the term freely to stand for either or of these contrary meanings, then I'm certain that a great deal of misunderstanding will occur. I will use the term communism as it has come to be known in modern times as a term denoting the system in place in those societies that the world has dubbed communistic countries, not as the term referring to the original idealistic philosophy of communism. Socialism is also a term whose meaning has changed. It originally referred to an interim, temporary societal system that would bridge the gap between a country's capitalistic system and a final realization of a communistic, not today's concept of communism, but the original society. However, socialism today is really a softer, more liberal version of capitalism. In true socialism, there is no private ownership of industry. It is all under governmental control. However, in the West, it refers more to a form of government where people pay very high taxes, and in doing so, the government then has the financial means to make certain aspects and functions of society free to the public, things like higher education and healthcare. So it remains, for the most part, capitalistic in nature, private industry, but purports a liberal use of government power to subsidize social programs. We tend to link democracy and capitalism together, but they ultimately have very contradictory and opposing philosophies and outcomes. Under capitalism, as under current communism, the individual is expendable. This is clearly the case in the corporations and businesses in a capitalistic society. The individual is only valued for what he can contribute to the success of the corporation. If an individual's position becomes redundant or no longer needed or outsourced, it can be more efficiently done by automation, then the individual is laid off, let go. In the communistic states, there is a party in power which enjoys a much higher lifestyle supported by the exploitation of the working class, the very thing preached against in the original concept of communism. This is also true of capitalism. There is a financial elite that holds a majority of all the wealth and power and reaps the majority of all the benefits. And these are not individuals that the public has the power to vote in or out. This class is able to sway elections through media manipulation, campaign donations, wealth, and influence. It takes a great deal of financing to run a serious campaign. And because of this, candidates become financially beholden to those who contribute heavily. Before they are even elected, they are under obligation. In cooperativism, the group and the individual cooperate to enhance each other for each other's benefit. Both flourish. In capitalism, there must be a huge class of worker bees to support the system. Therefore, everyone cannot rise to wealth. Everyone has the freedom to try, but the opportunities are not at all equal. And though everyone can try, Not everyone can succeed. The system needs a majority of worker bees. DeVos. But there are worker bees, as you say, in cooperatism as well. Isn't the workforce you speak of composed of these very same worker bees? Sagers. Yes, there are workforce worker bees in cooperatism, but this function is shared by everyone, and everyone benefits. That's the difference. The work is done as a society, and only the work that is needed for the society as a whole is delegated to the workforce, freeing up more time for the individual to pursue personal happiness in their life. Individuals are free from the fetters of having to provide some sort of income for themselves throughout their lives. No one loses, everyone wins. In a capitalistic society, worker bees can own property, have money, vote, and have a sense of personal freedom. But for the most part, they are regulated under very strict financial rules. Capitalism and communism are very similar in that aspect. Although under capitalism we enjoy what seems to be a bit more personal freedom and, in comparison, a higher standard of living for the majority. But most everyone feels the frustration and the effects of the rat race we are all in. There are ups and downs, highs and lows. There are those times when financial matters seem to drain our happiness, working hard to make money and have it sucked away by outrageously priced health care, college costs, gas prices, taxes, and interest rates. In a money system, the lack of money very much restricts your ability to enjoy life. I don't think you'll find anyone who will disagree with that. And it is a crucial point. This is what cooperatism eliminates or cures, the idea of happiness and fulfillment being tied to money. This is what causes all the problems. This is what causes the crime and corruption. People want to be happy and fulfilled and enjoy life. And in a money system, it is perceived that the only way to accomplish that is with more money. An individual can even have a very large income and yet still be unable to enjoy life because of what is required of that individual to do to consistently earn that income and support that lifestyle. This would be someone that is working all the time with very little free time to enjoy their earnings. They work their life away, counting the days to retirement, where at last they will be able to hopefully enjoy their wealth. Hopefully they are still in good health and the state of the economy isn't such that it lessens the value of their accumulated wealth. These situations do not feel free at all. Wouldn't it be great if no one had to worry about financial requirements, entanglements, and concerns? Impossibly idealistic? Maybe. Do the negative aspects of human nature make this impossible? Maybe. But I do have hope that humanity has reached a point where such a system is possible. DeVos. I'm not that idealistic. Throwing out the entire system isn't the answer. Capitalism and free enterprise have proven themselves over time. Healthy commerce is the answer. It is not the money system that causes all the problems, but how people have abused it. Sagers. Yes, I would certainly agree with that. But unfortunately, the system itself makes this abuse inevitable. This always will, and indeed must, occur. Take the great experiment of America and its principles of freedom and liberty. The abuse of the money system has all but completely eroded it and taken the power away from the people and put it back into the hands of a corporate financial elite, leaving the people no better off than when they were under the control of the British Crown. Government bails out sinking corporations that have been mismanaged or in some other way fail and stick the common people with the bill. The money system will always produce the same result over time. We have seen it throughout history. DeVos. But the wealthy and corporations are also responsible for most of, if not all, of the philanthropy in the world. It is their wealth which allows them to do this. Can we agree that this is truly an advantage of a monetary system? Without money, philanthropy couldn't even exist. Sagers. Just for a moment, consider the reasons behind why philanthropy is even necessary in the world. It's necessary because there are problems. People with problems. Consider the problems in the world and then determine if there would even be a problem in the absence of a money system. You will be amazed, as I was, how many problems are a direct result of being under a money system, and how many problems continue because of a lack of money in a money system. Money, or indirectly the lack of it, is what prevents the help to be given in the first place, and then, ironically, also turns out to be the solution. It is both the cause and the cure of our troubles in this system. Not so in cooperatism. These groups could just go ahead and do what they do for free. In cooperatism, it doesn't take money to help people, nor is the lack of money a barrier to accomplishing your goals. The only hindrance in cooperatism is a lack of interest. So long as there is interest, people will be able to implement any sort of program they wish. And all one needs to do is to look around in the world, and one can see that there is obviously no lack of interest. The meaning of philanthropy would change under cooperatism. It would mean simply helping others. It wouldn't have any connection to donating money. In cooperatism, there would be no homeless or hungry, and so no need for welfare or handouts. Contrast this to the reality in a money system. The question is not, should we eliminate the money system, but rather, how do we eliminate it? And that is how the Sagers-DeVos debate ended, due to lack of time. The DeVos-Sagers discussion received significant international publicity and was viewed as a victory and rallying point for the cooperatists. It brought a clearer understanding to the general public and gave the system a degree of legitimacy and hope that piqued more international interest.